Welcome to Intellicide, the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, Episode 5 edition.
Don't forget Falcon.
I know, right?
I got to say, Sam's become like one of my favorite characters.
Yes. He has been developed nicely in this, series. So, what did you think about the episodes?
Well, so I mean, there's so many character arcs, right? That are so good that makes the show really so. And it's funny because there's been so many people who made the point before now that it's I mean, you could see in episode 1, it's pretty obvious that the show as a whole is a conversation about race.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there's been a lot of people gaslighting about that. It's been a really weird, just conversation online about the show. With just kind of highlighting some of the divisions in our society at the moment. But
right.
There was a certain segment of people who decided that John Walker was a sympathetic kid, that they liked that. I mean, he's a sympathetic character.
Well, I think he's a
sympathetic villain, which makes him a good villain.
Right.
But there's people who just thought he was justified in what he did and everything, who were defending him.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was justified in what he was doing. It's one of those things where like when someone gets attacked or victimized and then they tear down the victim, but they don't look at the person that actually committed the act. Right. Now, right, we had we talked about this a little bit before we started the show. I do think that John Walker in episode 4, when he got beat by the Dora Milaje, and like the one Dora, she steps on the shield, picks it up like Captain America used to, and she's standing there over him, and the other one says, leave it. And she drops it back to him, and you can tell but he's just thoroughly defeated at that point.
Right.
And
it's one of those things where, I mean, in his arc, yeah, he was already feeling kind of inadequate for the position.
Correct.
Like he was filling the shoes of someone. He knew he was filling the shoes of someone that he wasn't really worthy to do it, And
right.
John Walker was the other soldiers at the base camp when Cap was picked, when the general would have picked one of his guys, but Dr. Erskine threw the grenade on the ground, and it demonstrates why Steve was the right person.
Right.
And then they talked about that, honestly, in that when they had that discussion about would you throw yourself in a grenade? He goes, well, I've done it 4 times, actually. I got this thing I do with my helmet. It's a reinforced helmet, which it goes back to the conversation with Steve and him. He's more of a Iron Man kind of guy where he would try to find a technical solution. Steve just sacrificed his body.
Well, right. I'd like to think of it, even though Steve Rogers was trained as a soldier, he didn't really have a soldier's mentality like that.
Right. It's one of those things where he was, in my opinion, this is one of those things that he and Sam have in common, is that they both have a high degree of empathy because they both come from a background where they both understand what it's like to be without power.
Correct.
And so they're both able to empathize, his ability to empathize with, the leader of the Flag Smashers, was it Carly?
Carly, yep.
Is really the reason why he's the appropriate, that whole episode demonstrated why Sam was the right person and John Walker was the wrong person. I mean, that was really that episode was the one that made it just crystal clear.
Well, yeah, and the thing that I like, and what you're talking about, John Walker thought that Captain America was defined by the power that he had, and he wasn't. That's what a lot of people looked at him as being, but his character is what defined him.
Right.
And John just couldn't replicate that. And the powers that be that chose John Walker to replace Steve Rogers didn't understand that. Like you said, the correct choice would have been Sam, and tying into the overarching discussion or theme of race in this series, they probably didn't even consider Sam, for Captain America because he was a black man.
Right.
So,
well,
yeah,
it's an interesting thing that the show is highlighting that whole thing with the systemic racism within the government. They even mentioned in episode 5, when he's having the conversation with Elijah, he mentions the Tuskegee experiments. And I mean, this is a real thing. Like they were using the super soldier as an analogy for what really happened in real life when they used black soldiers, gave them syphilis just to see what would happen.
Right.
That's they gave him the super soldier, the serum, and just to see what would happen. And they didn't tell him what it was. They told him it was a tetanus shot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and but that actually happened. They're just tying in real history into the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. It gives the whole thing a grounding. Right.
Right.
It ties it in a way to real life and reality that gives the audience a way to really relate to the story. Because
if you don't think race has been a major factor in this series, I really don't know what you've been watching. From the
it is one of those things that John Walker's arc was one that I think in a way I always saw it coming. Right, like hit that ending. It was more brutal than I expected it to be in a way. Right. It was interesting in that it mirrored the Civil War scene with Cap and Iron Man, when Cap has the shield basically in the same thing, and he could have killed Tony Stark in the same way, but he doesn't. He just disables him.
Right, and
then he actually leaves the shield.
Well, you're right, but I don't want to make John Walker totally sympathetic. I mean, there are some things that
that's the whole thing. He's the antithesis of Steve at every opportunity.
But again,
situation, he does the opposite of what Steve would have done.
He's thoroughly defeated, and I'm just trying to explain why he got to this point. He's thoroughly defeated by the Dora Milaje. He has this weight of responsibility and living up to the legend of Steve Rogers that he like you said, he's obviously not living up to.
Right.
And then his friend and partner gets, killed in front of his eyes.
Right.
At that point, he's like, hey, I'm done. I'm done trying to, be Steve Rogers. And, he executes this guy. And it was very brutal. And it highlighted so much the blood on that shield. And like, this is a different, Captain America, and it's a different America than what, Steve Rogers symbolized.
It was one of those things too, that was, it wasn't even the right guy. It wasn't even the person that killed the mom.
Right.
It was the person that they had earlier in the episode made a sympathetic character by having him say that as a child, he looked up to Captain America.
Right. Yep.
He ended up getting killed by this guy.
Right.
And all on purpose. It was really good, I thought. A way to give even that one guy a character arc. He got a little tiny character arc, but it was there.
Right. Yeah. It was great. I mean, but it does open him up to what happens to him next, because he still has, these superpowers now.
Oh, excellent. And so okay, we're going to obviously put a spoilers alert on the, did we say it in the beginning?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Yes.
On the video, obviously. Spoiler alert.
Right.
The character I thought was really interesting that they introduced in episode 5, Contessa.
Yeah.
She's so
Madam Hydra.
What's that?
Madam Hydra. That's who she was in the comics.
Was she Madam Hydra? Because she was also, I thought she was like Nick Fury's partner in the 60s, like spy comics.
No, I don't think so. If I remember correctly, Madam Hydra was who she her character name was.
No, she was someone else.
Okay.
Ophelia.
Yeah, right here. Wikipedia. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. She succeeded Viper as Madam Hydra.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. So she was because I didn't, should have had this ready.
Yeah.
So let's see. Actually, can you share? Well,
yeah. I'll post the link here. There you go.
Here we go. Okay. All right. Yeah. Agent 14 is what. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So she was, it was interesting because I don't know, for some reason when I first saw her, I remembered her as this character who was like with Nick Fury. Here, actually, let me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I don't know if she hit there. Let's see.
So this is what, I mean, when I first picture her, this is kind of what I picture is the one on the right here. You know, her with Nick Fury from the 60s spy comic.
Right.
Agent 14. But you're right. I guess actually she did in the comics. Then she became Madam Hydra.
Yeah.
Which is probably the version of her they're using for this show. Because that's
right. That's what I think. And you know, from what she's described as, she's the Nick Fury of Hydra. So, you know, she's gonna bring some intrigue to the show for sure.
I really like the character. I really like the way that she was played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh yeah, she's a great actress.
yeah. But just that whole, like, just the attitude and just the one-liners when the way she just slides in between them.
Right. Yeah. Like, you know, you made two great decisions, marrying this girl
and answering my call.
Right. Yeah, that was good.
So I mean, obviously, you know, what I thought was interesting is that in the comics, he was John Walker got his powers from the Power Broker,
right?
Who in the comics it was a little hokey in the way they did it in the comics, because it was like the Power Broker was running this like professional wrestling league, and he was giving people superpowers in order to make his professional wrestling league more interesting,
right?
Which is, I mean, as villains go.
Oh well, listen, there was a lot of hokey villains that he created in the comics, so I don't think that they want to take it, you know, verbatim.
But I thought it was interesting though that they still have it so that John Walker got his powers though from the Power Broker.
Well, right, but honestly, there was something said in episode 4 when the Power Broker texted you know, Carly's guy or whatever and said, hey, you know, I want the serum back. I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically it was a threat. And I'm like, man,
I don't remember. Did I make the prediction here?
You texted me about it.
Okay, about who I thought was going to
be. Yeah. But see,
that's pretty much what they revealed in episode 5.
I don't know, man. Like I said, in episode 4, when that text came across, I'm like, that doesn't sound like her. That just the tone of that text didn't sound like her. And then they never revealed what, you know, she was on the telephone about in episode 5.
Right.
So, you know, on one hand, I think that's Marvel's way of, you know, teasing individuals and keeping that mystery about who it is. But I'm more inclined to think that it's this Allegra character than
Power Broker.
Yeah.
I mean, now that they've introduced her, but it's one of those things that they're stringing. They're probably doing it on purpose to string people like me along to make you think, you know, Sharon.
Right.
Because I'm still pretty sure Sharon's the Power Broker.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not there yet, man. Even with her being basically done dirty by the U.S. government, I'm not there with her yet, reaching that point of being the Power Broker.
Right.
Yeah.
Man. So, so you said your favorite was episode 4.
Yeah, I mean, episode 4, just because, you know, to me, that was the most dramatic point of the series so far, with, you know, John Walker standing over his victim with the blood dripping off the shield. If that set the tone that, hey, this is not the guy, you know, like there's a mistake that's been made. And it was there for the world to see with the cameras and everything and being broadcast around the world. So to me, that was the most that was the crescendo of this series.
Of the drama.
Right.
Yeah, it was the most dramatic moment for sure. The rest of it is, that was the equivalent of Thanos' snap kind of in the storyline, the villains in a way.
Yeah.
But this is really more, I mean, John Walker the reason that he's a good villain in a way for a story is that he's not a completely evil character, right? Like, like Thanos, it's like he's doing it for a reason.
Right.
And John's like trying to be good, but he's a flawed person. And he does something that, like they said it several times, the serum just makes you more of what you already were.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, and then he said that, that he even says something to Lamar about like, look, the way we got those medals of honor didn't feel honorable or clean or whatever the way he put it. So he did things to get those that were shady to begin with. So if he takes a serum, it's going to make him more of that.
Right.
And so now that he's been recruited by Madam Hydra, is he going to come back as Nomad?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, that's a tough one, man.
I mean, it's interesting that they I thought it was funny because I was wondering, is he going to come back then as a U.S. agent? And then when they were like, when he was in his court martial or whatever, they were like, you are no longer to act in any capacity as an agent of the United States.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. So it could be Nomad, but I don't really think that's a popular or well-known character to those who haven't read the comics.
Right.
Neither is the U.S. agent, but
yeah,
I don't see him working as the U.S. agent for the Allegra or Madam Hydra. Now I could see where he gets involved with her, assumes a certain identity, and then once he gets.
So here's the question: did you see the after credits scene?
I did not.
In episode 5.
I did not. But hold on. So I can see where he gets involved with her and he decides to leave. It like, he finally realizes I can't really go down this rabbit hole. And then maybe this is an intro into the Thunderbolts where he can, to redeem himself, he becomes the U.S. agent or whatever on the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. What the end credit scene?
Oh yeah. They had an end credit scene at the end of episode 5. Here, let me hold up. I'll cue this up for you. And you ready?
Yes, sir. I don't think it's showing me anything, man. All I saw was the subtitles.
You're not seeing it?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
yeah. I think maybe, that's Disney's way of, you're not streaming across, for everybody to see.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go and watch that.
So describe. There's a scene at the end of the credits where John Walker is basically melting down his metals to make his own shield.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's like in his garage melting and making his own, grinding his own like Captain America shield.
Oh.
It's out of like flimsy metals.
Yeah, you're gonna have to add some vibranium to that, man.
Metal Captain America.
Okay, well then, yeah, I can't see him being the U.S. agent or the captain, working for Allegra. I can't see that.
I don't know. I think that now that he's broke, You know, because that like you said, like that scene at the end of episode 4 with the blood dripping off, and did you notice that at the end too? His hands twitching.
Yeah.
You know, so he's broken at that point.
Right.
And so he's more worried now, like when he snapped at the tribunal, whoever the court martial. He, you know, I think now he's more like addicted to the feeling of being Captain America. So he's like trying to recapture that now.
Well, you're right. If you know anything about
I
John
think,
Walker,
in the future, he's more than willing, if she can offer him that feeling back, like that's what she's gonna, you know, dangle in front of him.
I don't know. I think if you read John Walker's backstory, he always felt that Captain America didn't go far enough in representing America.
Right.
And it kind of reflects current times where, you know, we've had the former president that we had and some of his policies and individuals feeling like, you know, America shouldn't be doing for the world. We're not the cops of the world. We're not this. I can see how that John Walker in the comics translates to this person that we've seen in the MCU so far.
Oh yeah. And it's honestly, the funny thing is that the show of support for him online by a certain segment is, I mean, shows how close the show is to reality in time.
Right.
Just, you know, that mentality of, you know, what the people who picked John Walker to be Captain America have this idea of what America, quote unquote, should be, right?
Right.
Like those are the people that Elijah was talking about when he said they will never let a black man be Captain America.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
That's the they, you know, that they, when they picked him, you know, that's you know, the whole thing is really, it's an interesting underscore of, which I thought was an interesting thing with episode 4 and 5, is episode 4 shows the audience why Sam was right and John is wrong.
Right.
And, but the arc isn't there. The arc is, so they continue in episode 5. Sam learns why he's right.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the whole thing is at the end of episode 4, Sam still doesn't believe it, right? Sam,
right.
You know, and so this episode 5 is about Sam learning, and at the same time, you know, his relationship with Bucky. You know, that I personally I loved episode 5 just for all the character building. That whole both the scene of him and Bucky, you know, bonding,
right,
and then the training montage and I thought were, you know,
well, that's the thing. Sam, you know, he gave the government the shield, and you know, I think a big part of that was because he didn't feel like he was worthy to carry that shield or become Captain America. And like you said, that now he, you know, I got to believe that once he saw what John Walker did, he had to feel some guilt that, you know, I should have just, you know, like believed in what Steve, you know, who he gave the shield to. Because, you know, I originally was thinking like, well, why wouldn't he give it to Bucky? But, you know, he honestly thought and has some, you know, like me and Sam are pretty much the same person, even though we didn't grow up the same. We don't look alike. We have that fundamental attitude about this country. And so, you know, Sam didn't trust in that. And, you know, but now he does.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Steve saw something in Sam, and in episode 5, Sam finally got to see that.
Right.
You know, for himself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which was, it was interesting too, because it was the two of them seeing each other. You know, because it was the scene then when Sam gives Bucky the advice, you know, and they're talking. It was literally like he was the one then helping Bucky come to the conclusion of his character arc. You know, the fact that look, you're trying to amend, but and which is interesting because it's like that's totally up Sam's wheelhouse, right? Like he, you know, veteran trauma, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was, he's telling him, like, what you have to do is actually like make a difference.
Yeah.
Which where that's going, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You go back to that, which is not going to end well.
Well, you know what, man? Honestly, I hope the guy forgives him. Because I mean, it will be hard. Don't get me wrong. This is the guy that killed your son.
Right.
But if you understand, hey, he wasn't really who he was. He was brainwashed. He, was being used as a tool. Just how individuals say it's not the gun that actually kills people, it's people with who wield the guns that kill the people. And so, right. Bucky was just a tool that was being employed by others or whatever. And right now that he has his own mind, he's not that same tool or person. And I hope the Asian father can forgive him. I mean, it would be good. I really don't want to see Bucky. I don't want to see him regress or whatever, because he's guilt tripped or whatever about oh, my friend, I lost my friend.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they write that, because they have the writers are obviously really good, but
right.
The whole time you're watching that scene earlier when he's with him, and you can see him thinking about telling him, and he goes to his door, you're like, oh man.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know. I still, don't know if in that position I would tell him. Would it be? But I guess my question is, would it actually help him going to him and telling him, yeah, I'm the guy that killed your son?
I think it would help him, Bucky, because right, he's carrying this burden around. I mean, like we said before, mental trauma has been highlighted as well as all these other themes. Right. So for him to heal from that trauma, he has to fully confess and try to atone. Now, that doesn't mean
what I'm wondering is, and this is probably the same thing Bucky's asking himself, is, it's good for Bucky, but is he going to do more damage emotionally to the Asian father?
Right.
It's
gonna do some
better for him to get. Is it worth it for him to get the closure? But at the same time, like, how's he going to go about it? Because if you're like standing in front of him, like the object of all of his rage and grief,
right?
Well,
again, we don't know. I mean, I trust me. I never want to be in that position where I have to be the one where someone who I'm close to has to tell me, like, hey, your kid, I killed him. Right. Like, I don't want to have to face that, kind of, situation.
Right.
But I can see, because what the father said, that, he wants to know. He wants to know what actually happened. And so they may write it that way. I pray that they do.
Right.
Because just like him, he's grown close to Bucky.
Right.
He looks at him as a surrogate son. So does he want to lose this one too? Even though he caused the death of his actual son, do I want to lose my surrogate son too?
Right.
So but again, this is one of those things where I say I wish that we can have a season 2 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier where we can learn these types of things.
Whole episode about him going back. I mean, seriously, they can literally do that in a whole, and I would watch it.
You're right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you do one of the things out of this episode 5 that I really like was when Sam said, his sister's looking at him, at Bucky, and he's like, "Don't flirt with my sister." I mean, can you imagine? Like, Sam calls his sister, and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" "Oh, I'm sitting here talking with Bucky." And it's like, "Hey, I'm on my way down there." Like, nope.
Well, it's like one of those things you could tell. Like, I thought it was cute, actually. It was like,
I did
he's
too.
Like, "Hey, I'm Bucky." And she's like, "Hey, I'm Sarah." Like, you could tell like they were flirting with each other. They were a little connection. But in the back of his mind, he's like, yeah, Sam's gonna kill me.
Right. But see, that, again, those are those small things. When you have, we got another season coming, you can build upon, and you can have whatever you want happen. And I I think we have a lot of missed opportunities if this is one and done. You know,
I agree.
I get it.
They could totally do a season. I would be shocked if they did not do a season 2 of this, honestly, because they're laying the groundwork for so many stories.
Right. And again, it doesn't have to be addressed in the movies. You know,
honestly, if you're bringing in a new character like the Contessa
right
this late, I'm pretty sure that they're going to be continuing this storyline.
Listen, I think they will, but will it be in the Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2? That's my question. Yeah, will they continue the Contessa story? Yes. Will it be in the Falcon Winter Soldier season 2 is the question.
Right. Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, sir.
This is only going to be 6 episodes, right? Or is it?
It was the penultimate episode, so one more to go.
So this is, there better be a season 2 because.
Bruh, see,
that would actually be hilarious if they open season 2 and she gets up and goes to work and there's another boat next to his.
Yep.
Hey man, hey neighbor.
Right. And Bucky's got the older boat, and or Sam has the older boat, and Bucky has a new, nice, clean.
He's got this newfangled Wakandan boat.
Right. That would be awesome, man. That would be awesome.
Jetson's boat. Which
yes, sir.
Honestly, I was disappointed in that personally because I was really interested when he got the new set of wings from Wakanda. I was like, oh, I want to see that.
Well, okay. So, do you think it's just a set of wings? Because I heard,
I think it's going to get the uniform.
Well, right, but that's what I was reading. Where is that? It's going to be a Captain America costumes. People are speculating that it's a Captain America uniform,
right?
With made out of vibranium that provides him some increased strength and etc.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to see.
I mean, it reminds me. I mean, we've already seen like the Tony Stark nano armor and the spider armor that he gave to Spider-Man.
Right.
I mean, easily something similar to that from Wakanda. That's like a suit, but at the same time, it's basically armor. You know? Yep. It's honestly, and that's the whole thing in the comics. He actually had a pretty cool outfit that was, when he was Captain America.
Right.
So it's interesting then too that his original wings were American technology.
Yep.
Right? And it was American government technology, and this is supposed to be like Wakandan technology. So it'd be interesting to see. I'll bet you, I don't know.
They got to solve the solution, man, of people keep ripping his wings out.
Right? Yeah, seriously. How many times does that happen? Why don't you just make them like so that they can pop out, so you can just pop them back in when people.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, hey, after the Winter Soldier movie, you would think like, hey, these have to be where hey, if somebody pulls it out, okay, right, I can just snap it back in.
Snaps out, and it'll just snap back in.
Exactly.
I'll bet you that's how they do it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's simple.
Have you seen the? I don't know. Let's hope it's not the same writers that did Star Trek Discovery, and it'll be like those nacelles on the star. It'll just like they're not even connected to it. They're just there somehow, energy connected to it.
It would be interesting to see, man. I do want to see what's in that box. I'm like, man, I just wish they would have ended with him looking down at it.
I know, right? I wanted to see it, like, from his, because the look at his face, you're like, oh shit, what is it?
Yeah.
Because at first, he does a good job of like, at first you see his face and he doesn't look all that happy, but he opens it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yep. So
it was actually, so it's one of those things I think we should actually call. So the acting that's been in this so far has been really good.
Oh yeah.
I mean, across the board. Going all the way back to, if you watch episode 1 again and you watch Don Cheadle playing Rhodey, and you watch his face the whole time he's sitting there having that talk with Sam, he's got the look at his face like he knows exactly what's going to happen. He's like, why are you doing this? Why are you not taking up the shield? because you know that he doesn't say it, but you see it on his face, and he's like, they're just going to turn around and give it to another white man. That's what's going to happen. Like both, he's wearing a uniform at the time. It's like, we know we were both in the military. We know what they're going to do.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I mean, top down, the series it's like a movie, and everything that they've put in the movies, from the writing to the production values, the acting, it's been phenomenal. I can't take anything away from them on that.
How about have you seen Daniel Bruhl, who played Zemo? Did you see that Marvel released a from was it episode 4 when they go to the nightclub? Or was it 3 where they go to Madripoor?
Yeah, it was episode 3.
Yeah, we're in the nightclub. He was
dancing,
and they have Zemo dancing. They released a 1-hour video of Zemo dancing in the nightclub. Which actually,
that's funny.
It's pretty funny.
That is funny. I mean, hey man, do stuff like that. They're engaging the fans and everybody, and again, if you enjoyed the movies, you'll really enjoy this show. And I just think that we got to get to a point, because and I'll make a comparison here. Do you remember when Fox News first came about? The Fox channel, and it used to just be like they had like maybe 12 hours, and then they'd go back to the local channel programming. I almost feel like the Disney Plus channel is like that right now. They don't have enough original content, to have something every day. And I think if you were to have series, year in, year out, that, hey, I can turn into this and watch, that it will help it grow. Because a lot of people, like you said, they just binge watch, and then they cancel their subscription until something else comes out that they want to see.
Right. Yeah.
So
Netflix gets around that by basically just having a constant stream of new content.
Yeah, exactly.
But Netflix is able to do what they do because they let they license all these other people to make the stuff, and then they just license it for their use. Like Disney is so controlling about their content and their characters and stuff. Like they'll want to make it all themselves. But you're right, though. You're absolutely right. They need to ramp up the volume of content they're releasing, because that's always been Disney's thing, though, right? Disney's whole thing has always been controlling the supply to manipulate, because they keep certain movies in the vault in order to ramp up demand for them.
Right. Well, right, but it doesn't have to be only MCU things. I mean, you look at the Mandalorian show, and that's already going on its 3rd season. And that's why I make that comparison. We had 2 seasons of the Mandalorian before this even premiered. Yeah. And now we got a 3rd one coming out this year. You can do the same sort of things. Yes. Will it take a lot of work and effort? Absolutely. But if you want to keep people engaged, I think that's where you need to go.
Oh yeah. I think, it's going to be interesting. Because a lot of the people that they had involved in, the first phases of the MCU are getting older now. Like Robert Downey Jr. is looking older now.
Well, dude, he's 50 something.
Right.
Hey, okay, so
and develop like a newer, and they did actually. I thought it was cool. They they already have enough people to do the young Avengers.
Well, right. Now, did you hear this? And this is a little bit off topic. They were talking about introducing Wolverine. There's speculation about, with Madripoor being involved or introduced. I
was hoping for that, but yeah.
So, okay. Now, I read a story where Hugh Jackman had originally said Logan was his last film as Wolverine, but he's been open, depending on what Marvel was going to do, to coming back. Hugh Jackman he'll be 53 this year, man.
Right.
I loved Hugh Jackman. I originally didn't like that casting, but he did a phenomenal job. Mm-hmm. But you're 53. I don't imagine that you're going to be doing this for another 5 to 10 years.
I mean, the only role he's really appropriate for anymore is Old Man Logan. No offense.
Right, well, right. But that's, and that's what I had a discussion with someone where, hey, you introduce another person as Wolverine, younger, maybe somebody in their late 20s to mid 30s.
Absolutely.
And that way, and he's like, well, how do you introduce? I'm like, a multiverse Wolverine, where, hey, yeah, I don't look exactly like this other guy, but I'm Wolverine. If you do that, then you can have this person long term. I don't know what their plans are for this next phase, but if it's going to be 10 years,
going to depend on, that's the whole thing with the trolling with the Quicksilver from the WandaVision show, is that everybody's curious to see how they're going to bring these characters in. Are they going to take the Fox, and the Sony versions of these characters that we've seen and bring them into the MCU directly? They didn't do that with Spider-Man. We got a new Spider-Man for the MCU.
Right.
So,
right.
There's a lot of people, I think, who I think they're probably going to do that. They're going to have to. They're going to cast a new one. They're going to just say, they might reference the multiverse to pay homage to the previous versions. But I have a feeling that they're going to do pretty much what you're saying, is say, like, okay, so there was this other, in another universe, there was this other person who is Wolverine.
Right.
And they might even pay homage to him by a cameo or something, but there'll be a new one.
Yeah.
Who will be. My personal hope, though, it's one of those things, depending upon how you like Wolverine, a long time ago, back in the before time, was one of my favorite characters. And it was ruined for me in a way when they did his origin, because one of my favorite things about him was that even he didn't know his own past.
Right.
So it was one of those things where you could have all these interesting stories about, like, things popping up that were supposedly from his past that even he didn't know.
Right.
He could be manipulated by that even. Like, I thought it was an interesting thing about his character. And then they kind of got rid of that. And then
I agree with you on that. I do.
Yeah.
But then I also heard speculation about a Weapon X anthology series. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I've heard rumors that but it's something about it be animated.
I didn't hear about it being animated. Again, that's fine and dandy. It doesn't feed me what I want as far as a regular show season after season. If they do that with the Young Avengers, I'm in. I'm all in.
Did you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I did.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I think I watched the initial few episodes, and then I probably missed out on seasons 2 and 3, and then I watched it all the way from after that to the end. Okay. So I do have to go back and watch the first season, and then like 2 and 3.
Okay. I watched most of it up until, honestly, it was towards the end when they did like half seasons and stuff. They did the whole, got into Kree space, and that was kind of where
I mean, it did. It got kind of hokey at the end there, but I think that had more to do with Marvel basically like hands off.
Yeah.
After that point, I mean, it did allow them to have a lot more creativity when they weren't connected to the movies.
Yeah.
But I think that Marvel did a disservice by basically jettisoning that, and I think it was a result also of them jettisoning the Netflix MCU content, and then this. I think this got caught up in that, the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, which it'd be interesting to see. So that's one of the things that they brought Contessa in, is that in the whole throughout the whole MCU, like from the Avengers on. So the last time we saw the actual Nick Fury might have actually been at the end of Captain Marvel,
right?
Because then when they revealed that Nick Fury was actually a Skrull, like you wonder, like going all the way back to Avengers,
right?
Who was that person that put the Avengers together?
Right.
Was that actually the Skrull, or was that Nick Fury?
I think it was the Skrull, because if I think Nick Fury's basically been out in outer space since the Captain Marvel thing, and that movie actually took place in the 80s.
Right.
So again, I don't know, man.
Well, all I'll say is this: if I don't see Samuel L. Jackson again in the MCU, I'm going to be pissed, because there's something up there that now I want to see how that ends. Is he out there fighting the Kree Skrull War while nobody else knows about it? Like, what's going on,
Right. Well, I mean, dude, they got a lot that they can do, and that's why I wish that they would do some of that in these a continued series. It doesn't have to be just a snippet in a movie, or we wait a year and a half for a movie to come out. You can have a series that addresses issues like that really won't have a huge bearing on the movies.
Right.
That's just me.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. All right. Well,
what did you rate the series, or what did you rate these 2 episodes?
Oh, honestly, I give it a 4 and a 5.
Yeah,
probably 4.5 for both of them.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I'm gonna almost.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them an average of 4. I'd say episode 4 to me was a little bit higher, but episode 5, I'm not gonna rank it that much lower, but I'll give both of them a 4, as an average. So
yeah.
Yep.
That was pretty good. All right. So this has been fun.
Yes, sir.
Till next time.
All right. See you later.
See you.
Yep. Intellicide out.